Yo, what the deal is? What up, y'all? You're now tuned in to Situated Sundays, brought to you by the S.H.I.T.S podcast. I'm your host, Monsoon Terrell, the coolest cat you heard thus far, aka DJ Booty Rubber, like no other. If you don't believe me, man, go ask your mother. Check it out, y'all. Y'all know how we do. This whole program is to get y'all situated, not situated, but situated for the week and keep y'all connected. So before we get into any of that, I got to get some mad shouts out to John Wesley Eyewear, located at 10735 South Western Avenue. That's in the Beverly neighborhood. Y'all make sure y'all hit them up. They got the designer frames, keep you looking right. Also, man, shout outs to Fluent Radio, www.fluentradio.com. Make sure y'all check them out for some good music and dope personalities. Also, for my adults out there that's adulting and doing adult things, y'all make sure y'all check out Club Infamous. That's at www.clubinfamous.com. Yeah, there we go. So this week, we have a very special guest to Situated Sundays. He has a weekly blog out of New York City that covers food and culture. I want y'all to put y'all hands together. If y'all driving, don't take your hands off the wheel. Do a little church clap or something, and make some noise for the one, the only, John Katz. How you feel, bro?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me. How are you?
Thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no doubt. Pleasure to be here.
No problem. My first hope. Quick, I'm sorry. Turn it down a little bit. My first question to you, man, is so I know you're from. Well, I'm guessing you're from New York.
Born and raised, yeah, and that's where we're broadcasting from today.
Broadcasting from New York. So, have you ever spent a long amount of time in any other city or state?
Yeah, I spent about 15 years in New Orleans, Louisiana. There was a good period of my life when I was running for myself. This is when I was still using drugs and drinking. And in AA, they call it doing a geographic. I'm not in AA, but one of my boys put me on. When you're attempting to flee from your internal circumstances by moving your external circumstances, they call that doing a geographic. I'd attended university in Louisiana, and after graduating, I stuck around, and I spent many years after that living in New Orleans, just living that lifestyle, that party lifestyle, that no end in sight lifestyle. Okay.
So first of all, I do want to say that I dig New York. I dig New Orleans. I've been to New York 3 times. I've been to New Orleans 3 times as well. And I've always loved New Orleans for the food. I can't necessarily say I like the food and the music, which is interesting because of New York. And you said at one point, I was watching your blog, you consider New York the culture capital. Am I correct?
Yeah, in a lot of ways, New York City is, just because its impact on U.S. culture and world culture are considered the cultural capital. All the different groups that have made it here have formed this area.
Okay. So like when I first heard that, like being from Chicago, I don't want to say as a rivalry of Chicagoans and New Yorkers, but we're considered the second city. New York, obviously, the Big Apple, and to you, what's the big not the big infatuation? What do you think draws people to New York, not just to live, but to visit?
I'll say this. I think that, the denser the object, the greater the gravitational pull. It's why the Earth's core, exerts such a strong pull on the rest of the Earth, because it's the densest part. I believe the density of New York being so highly populated with so many different groups creates that gravitational pull, that cultural pull on people. And when I started my blog, I was more interested in the food and in discussing the food and culture of New York.
Okay.
A year ago yesterday, I had an apartment fire, and
I'm sorry to hear that.
No, it was the best blessing that could have occurred. It was an absolute blessing. And after the fire, it kind of reset my intentions about what I was doing with my time and why. I had gotten into online coaching a couple months, maybe a month or two before the fire, but things really stepped up after I had this brush with death. I mean, I lost everything, man. Like the home you see here, I own this place now, but I was renting a spot downtown, and
Okay.
it was a very important location for me. I had gotten clean there. I dropped all my vices there. I dropped about 40 pounds, working out mainly in that place and also on the sidewalk directly outside and in the neighborhood park. And after the apartment fire, I was like, man, like, you know, the long form YouTube pieces, the blog you speak of is important, but what am I really doing? Am I really saving souls out here when I'm talking about all the food and culture, the music, the movies, and all of these things of man that I really love, and it's such a big part of me growing up in New York City and spending so much time in New Orleans. Food and culture were very much a part of my life in that I studied it. You know, I read and I watched movies, but after the fire, man, it really reset my priorities. And for the past 14 months, I've been going a lot harder on online coaching and helping guys drop their habits and drop their vices, drop their weight, drop their egos, and really walk in alignment with their conscience, which I was doing, but yeah, like this, it took a lot of negativity, or what normal people would consider to be negativity, for me to reach this level of positivity. And that started with me being in an extremely dark, depressed, anxious state when I dropped the booze and I dropped the pills and all the drugs and all that. And then again, it took me to another level when the fire hit. So that's where I'm at today.
That's so interesting, dude. And it makes me think about you made a comment. Well, you had a blog where you was talking about unpleasant facts, and I thought that was like I thought that was deep, you know, because it's like you speak about the things that people don't want to deal with. For you, what was the hardest unpleasant fact that you had to deal with?
That no one was coming to save me. You know, that I couldn't buy my way out of my misery. That there was no product for me to consume. There was no amount of gin, no bag of mushrooms, no Coke dealer was going to get me out of my own way, and that it was up to me to change my life. I mean, that is to an addict, to someone living dark, to a liar, that's the most unpleasant fact, that they are somehow not a victim. Nobody wants to hear that. If I or you or anyone else listening is always saying, okay, that person is the reason I'm broke, that person is the reason I'm fat, this condition is the reason I can't get out of bed before 10 on Sundays, this is the reason I sleep around, that's the reason I cheated on my ex, you know, then one never has to be held responsible. I mean, the most unpleasant fact is that we are the cause of and solution to all of our problems.
I love it. I love it. I love it, dude. I always say it starts and ends with you, you know, and people, anytime I say that to somebody always finds a way to bring up the argument, and they'll say something like, well, if I get robbed, that started and that ended with me. And I'm like, kinda. I'm like, you chose to walk a certain way, which put you in a certain position to have that happen. See, I'm not saying that it's fortunate that it happened, but it all starts and ends with you, which I think the main thing is accountability, you know. And go ahead. You gonna say something?
No, I was just gonna say in the case of a robbery, an apartment fire, any sort of external negativity, right? If you want to know how honest someone is being with their life, ask them who is responsible for their pain. So in the option, or in the example you just gave, the robber is the cause of that, but the responsibility of the person to recover from the robbery is on them. So people get it twisted. They believe that just because, and I'll speak about myself, I was raised by people that were not super intentional about the way they lived. They didn't really handle business in a manner that was congruent with a positive future. So I believe that, okay, these people are responsible for my pain. Well, that's false. But if I hold them responsible, then I don't need to do anything. But if I say, hey, they are the cause of it, but only I am responsible, oh man, then I'm in the driver's seat. And the person who is broken up about the robbery or the apartment fire can say, oh man, this is horrible, this other party is responsible. But if we say, no, the robber caused your pain, you are out money, maybe he smacked you, whatever it is, but he's not going to recover you from it. You have to recover yourself from the robbery. And accountability is the toughest thing, because when we're accountable, then we have to actually own up to the fact that we weren't really there when we said we would be.
Right.
Or maybe we didn't show up in the manner they needed us to. Maybe we didn't really love them the way they wanted us to. And maybe we weren't really, living it and we said we did. And that is the hardest thing. That's the most unpleasant fact, that it starts and ends with you.
Wow. This is me just assuming. But you said that you had to drop your vices. You had to get rid of your vices. In the process of you doing that, did you lose a lot of relationships? Did you, whether it be romantic relationships, friendly relationships, business relationships, did you lose a lot of those?
So the cessation of my most serious romantic relationship precipitated the change. I was engaged to a woman, and our breakup caused me to plunge deeper and deeper and deeper into my vices, which ultimately precipitated my change to drop my vices. But following that, man, there are so many people that are not trying to hear it, and that's okay. When we allow people out of our lives that are not walking a similar path, we understand that the path is ours to walk. If we want to walk their path, then we need to do what they're doing. So what I always tell people, because my clients will say, hey man, like I'm getting weird energy from my parents, I'm getting weird energy from my siblings, I'm getting weird energy from my friends. And I say, okay, well, do you want the results they have? Like, look at them, look at the end result of their life.
I like that.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to end up, or when people try to come at me some type of way, it happens all the time. People are coming at me some type of way and trying to give me advice or tell me what to do. And I always ask them this very simple question. I would like everyone listening in Washington to do the same. If someone comes at you with advice and you are not interested in resembling them after you take the advice, all you have to say is, if I listen to you, will I end up like you?
Oh.
And if the answer is yes, if the person says yes, you'll end up like me, you can say, well, I don't really want your results. And if the person says, no, you won't end up like me, then you can say, well, then why on earth are you giving me advice? You didn't even do it, and you're telling me what to do. You're telling me to do something you didn't do. And so, yes, I lost many, many people that were in my life, people that were in my life to use alcohol with, to do drugs with, to go to the club with, to stay out late with, to try to hook up with girls with. Like, these are all behaviors I don't engage in. I don't engage in these behaviors anymore. So how on earth am I going to engage with the people that engage in these behaviors?
Do you think that the response that you gave, as far as when people try to give advice, do you think that would come off as, I guess, the least sarcastic and at the worst passive aggressive when you say that to people? Is that the way that they take it?
It's real. It's the realest thing you can say, is to say, if I listen to you, will I end up like you?
Right.
I want everyone that hears my message to ask me that, because the answer will be yes. If you listen to me, you will drop 40 pounds, which is the amount that I dropped. You will stop using alcohol and drugs permanently. You will get a six-pack for the first time in your life, and you will heal a lot of deep-seated trauma and resentments. Like, I was running from my family. I spent 15 years in New Orleans and traveling around trying to get away from myself, but you can't escape something you carry within. And it was only when I started walking this path of positivity and listening to someone who had the results I wanted and taking their advice that I was able to heal. So yes, there's no sarcasm, there's no cap, there's no shade there. It's real. And people need to start asking each other that, because people are giving crazy off-the-wall advice that's leading. Like, if someone tries to tell me how to eat, right? Like an unhealthy person, and I look at them and I say, what? If I take diet advice from you, am I going to end up fat and disgusting like you? Like, there's no sarcasm there. That's real. People need to start being real about the advice they're giving. If I go to you and I say, I want to learn how to host a successful podcast with sponsors, and you give me the advice that you did to do that, and I follow that, I guarantee you I will be able to get the results you got. But if I had to go to some bum on the street and ask them the same thing, what on earth am I going to learn from them? Right.
So I don't know if you said this earlier, and I apologize if I didn't catch it. but you did therapy too as well, right?
I mean, the therapy I do is internal. I treat myself. Therapy is
Right.
magnification of problems by talking, and
Okay.
is the elimination of problems. So, I mean, the therapy I engage in is daily therapy, my daily workout, my daily early wake up, daily tracking of what I eat, and caring about my life. But the traditional talk therapy model is something I tried. I mean, way back in the day, I went to a couple sessions with my ex. We were engaged. We were having problems. We went to couples therapy. It didn't really work. I mean, the relationship was not meant to be, and I was too
Okay.
blind to see at the time. But traditional therapy never helped me. The program I work, the program I live, the program I teach is the only thing that I've engaged in that has had any sort of long-lasting results, positive results in my life. All the drugs, because I've done pretty much everything short of a needle and the crack pipe. I never did meth or crack or heroin, but everything south of that I tried. That got me a few hours of freedom and an awful, awful, awful hangover the next day. The bottle, I used to hit the bottle multiple times a week. Dating apps, I was trying to sleep with, anything that walked multiple times in my life. That actually destroyed my soul. None of those things worked. The big meals, all that just made me fat and disgusting.
Yeah.
All everyone has to do is take a look at the before photo on my page, and you can very clearly see the man I was. Then you can look at the after photo, and you can see the man I've become. And everything between that is the program that I teach. And that program doesn't include talk therapy. I didn't do any therapy between when I was clinically obese and drug using and suicidal and after, when I bought an apartment in Lower Manhattan. I have a dream job, and I've never been more successful in all spheres of my life.
Okay. So when people speak about therapy, they always speak about how a therapist is not there to fix you. That's my opinion as well. Is there to make you aware of what's there. You know what I'm saying? Because I think sometimes the problem is we don't want to see it. So with your online coaching, is that one of the things that you focus on as well, helping people realize, hey, it's there. I mean, like, not trying to be funny, but it's like, okay, you are fat. You know what I'm saying? So like, let's deal with that. I wouldn't necessarily put the disgusting part on it, but you are fat. Let's stop trying to hide that. Or you are an alcoholic. Let's stop trying to hide that.
Yeah, a good coach doesn't tell you what to see. He tells you where to look. And
I like that. I like that.
You know, and you have to look inside. So I'm not going to say, Bob, like, your calling is to be an architect. You've always dreamed of doing this, but your habits are awful. You spend your free time getting wasted. You're really unsure of yourself because you're about 30 pounds overweight. And until you get your mind and body right, you'll never be able to pursue your dream as an architect. Or Sally, you've really always been into crafting. You want to be, I don't know, I'm just pulling this out of my ear. You've always wanted to knit sweaters and sell them on Etsy. You've had this dream of being a successful craftswoman, but you can't get out of your own way. You have a problem with food. You're on awful terms with your kids. You're constantly obsessing about, the abuse you suffered when you were a kid yourself. So how are you going to do this? And what I tell the people I work with is you have to look inside. And in order to look inside, to realize your vision, to realize your calling, you have to cut out all of the outside stuff. If you're constantly running to the outside stuff, to the club, to the bottle, to the dating app, to the bag of Coke, to the cheeseburger, to the other person, how on earth are you going to see it? So in cutting out all of these external things, you are forced to look inside. And if you look inside enough, you will finally see who you are. I had to look inside for months to understand what my calling was. And it wasn't to chase pleasure. That's sickening, man. And I will say disgusting. I know that when I was fat, I was disgusting because I was disgusted. I would look at myself in the mirror and I would be disgusted. And when one is disgusted with themselves, the energy they put out is disgusting. And I was disgusting others with my energy. Like, I own it. Here's another thing about criticism. You hate on what you gave up on. Every single thing that I criticize is one of two things. It's either something I no longer have in me that I've given up on, or it's something I see in others that reminds me of something in me that I'm currently working on and that I hate. So right now, one of my main remaining issues, I have a pretty bad temper. Now, I keep it in check through mindset training because anger is a punishment that we inflict on ourselves for someone else's mistake, but it's still there. So when I see someone fly off the handle and start wigging out, that really triggers me because that's my problem. I still have that problem. Also, when I see someone who's really out of shape and unhealthy with horrible energy and is super nervous and awkward every time they walk into a room, that makes me feel some type of way because I used to do that. So I hate on what I gave up on. straight up. All my criticisms are directed at the old me because I don't ever want to get back there. If I don't hold myself accountable, I will turn into that thing. And I hold myself accountable by holding everyone around me accountable.
That is awesome. That's okay. So I think about how people say there's a certain energy to New York. There's certain qualities and characteristics to New Yorkers. I can't necessarily say that's true. I would think that you would know way better than I do. With the online coaching that you do you find that New Yorker characteristic or attitude coming out more, or can you approach it? Or does it not come out? Just say like,
the message is universal. I mean, my own coach is from Southern California, so across the country, and I listen to him to manage my life. I've had clients in the Pacific Northwest. I had one who was working in Bermuda at the time. So the message is universal. You know, people might be drawn to a certain energy. Perhaps they're into New York culture, or maybe they dislike New York culture and that pushes them away from me. I'm not really certain, but the message that I preach is not really any different. I mean, if you read the Old Testament, I mean, you can take it even more simple. Take a look at the 10 Commandments. If you, this is not a hypothetical, if you, the listener, the viewer, live the rest of your life abiding by the 10 Commandments, which are, I think, 5,500-ish years old, you would be on a righteous level above most people that exist. Do not cheat. Do not steal. Honor thy father and thy mother. Do not covet thy neighbor, thy neighbor's things. Honor the Sabbath and keep it holy. Be a righteous individual. Right. These are very basic tenets that most people break. Cheat, steal, lie, kill, avarice, lust, all of these things. And you could also take that, and then from the New Testament, you can take the 7 deadly sins. If you take the 10 Commandments from the Old Testament, 7 deadly sins, and I'm unfortunately a bit ignorant about Islam, but I'd love to pull something from Islam as well. I know that there are ways of being and rules in Islam. So if you just take the fundamental tenets of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, and you live your life according to that, you wouldn't need any coaching from me at all. You would be walking the path of righteousness. Now I've simply adapted these 5,000-year-old teachings to the contemporary era using Instagram and social media and being a modern human, because it's a lot easier to connect people through Instagram than it is for me to be on the street corner, holding the 10 Commandments saying, honor thy father and thy mother. But this is a universal message, whether you're from in Lower Manhattan, you're in Chicago, you're in Los Angeles, or Jakarta for that matter. These are all things, and it speaks to the human soul that I'm able to speak this. And I've had clients that are in their 50s, women in their 60s, young guys that used to sell weed, and people with that when I met them, they had 2 pictures on their Instagram, one with a blunt and one with a strap, like a burner. And I'm like, and these are kids, like the kid was 19 and he hit me up and just like clearly has issues because he had 2 photos and one was him with a blunt and him with a gun. Like, that's not me, obviously, but yet he was attracted to my message. So to answer your question, the message is universal, whether you're down with New York or not. I just call it NYC Foodways because I am a born and raised New Yorker. Foodway, a cultural pathway through food, is a great place to start when you want to change your life, because the way we interact with what we consume determines our future, and that's what it is.
Okay, thank you for answering that. So excuse me, you spoke on one of your videos about people hiding, and it made me think, do you think that social media encourages people to hide, or the opposite?
That is such a good question. All right, so people hide in one of 2 ways. The more common way is to just not post and not be exposed at all. And the second way is to use social media as a way to hide, to present a front on social media in order to hide the real. And that is why I'm so open about having been through a ton of trauma and having been super negative. I post routinely about the darkness I came from because I don't need to hide it. And it's also why I post every day in my stories showing my workouts and my meals, because these are the things that got me healthy. But you are so on point. People use social media as a way to hide. It's a false front. They're fronting on social media. They paint this BS picture perfect life, which is so obvious. Like, that's the darkest dude out there because he's so dark that he won't even show how dark he is. Yeah. Like, you can't trust that dude. The most trustworthy dude is the guy that's like, bro, like, it's so hard for me to get through the day. I wake up, because this is me, I wake up and I have
excuse me,
burning issue, this serious problem. And if I don't work out and handle business during the day, it's going to be awful. That's the most honest. Then at least the guy below, who isn't posting anything at all, makes it super clear that he's not cool with who he is. Because if he was, he would be posting it. But then the most dishonest, the least honest guy is the one that's posting some BS that you can read so quickly. Like, dude, that's not you. No one is balling like that all the time. Right. And I don't mean balling with money. Like, no one is like emotionally all that all the time. Like, that's clearly hard. Right. So then you're using social media to hide. So absolutely.
So kind of piggybacking off what you just said, I'm gonna go with the person that doesn't post that much, right? What if that person that doesn't post that much may feel like, I just don't want people to see. I don't really think this is something that I don't think people need to see. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, that was me.
And I guess I say that because you know, I find myself being that way because I try to use, in all honesty, I try to use social media strictly from a content creator point of view. I don't really like posting family pictures and stuff like that. I just really don't. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, if I do it, it's like really rare. So I thought about that when you just said it, because it's like, I don't necessarily think it's like, I guess I have to think about it. Am I hiding? You know what I'm saying? Like, am I hiding? Then I thought, well, if it come down to something that I'm passionate about, or the brand or the podcast or whatever, I'm posting that because I feel like that's what I use it for. Does that kind of make sense?
It does. And the fact that you're willing to be honest about it, it's like you're already up. Bro, yes, that's it. And you may be hiding because here's the thing. Before I started really handling business internally, I didn't think what I had. I was in the same boat. I didn't have social media until like 2 years ago. I didn't use Instagram.
Wow.
For all the same reasons you're saying. But here's the thing. Have you ever done something that has helped you? Were you ever in a position of negativity? Like, have you grown in life?
Yeah, I would think so. I would like to think so.
Right. So if a man has grown in life, we owe it to the species to tell others, hey, this is how I grew. These are the actions I took.
I see what you're saying.
Not sharing what helped you, it's actually quite selfish. So a lot of the hiding isn't hiding out of shame. It's hiding out of selfishness because, these are my answers. Like, I got a dope, like, you have a family? You have a family?
Yes.
Dude, you got a dope family. You got a podcast. You probably some other ways, but these are my answers. Like, I'm gonna keep them over here, and you all keep it pushing. Like, all you single dudes, all you guys that aren't spreading the vibe, that aren't handling business in this medium, you all can go do that, and I'm gonna be over here doing this. And that's really selfish. And I'll tell you that because I know that it comes from a place of love. My coach had to tell me, John, if you don't, are we allowed to curse on here?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so straight up, and I don't know if you saw this one, but there was the 1 year of NYC Foodways on my weekly blog. It goes into this pretty in depth. My coach told me, these are the exact words, John, if you don't start posting tomorrow, fuck you and everything you stand for. That was 2 years ago. That was 2 years ago, maybe June or July. And since then, I have not missed a single post on IG. And I ran 75 of those weekly videos before I transitioned more into coaching. And so that's what it is. Viktor Frankl said that which is to give light must endure burning. Keep in mind, this man went through Auschwitz, right? And he wrote a book called Man's Search for Meaning. So he went through Auschwitz and managed to survive, and could have taken all of that pain and everything he learned in the worst part of 20th century human history and just never written about that, because that's his pain and that's his learning. But instead, he wrote a book called Man's Search for Meaning. It's one of the most taught philosophy books, psychology books about he who has a why doesn't need a how, essentially how to survive, because he went through the pit of hell. And my coach said, John, you have a creative vision. I've always been into art, culture, hip hop, food, all this stuff that I wanted to express, but I just kept it in. And he said, if you don't start, fuck you and everything you stand for. And that's what made me start posting. I had answers. I had positivity. I had to create a vision. And if I held that in for me, then it's only me. If I bring it out, then it's for everyone. Everyone listening has a creative vision. If you put a 5-year-old in front of an easel, he or she is going to paint from sun up to sundown. They don't have any sort of thing that keeps it in. They want to create. And so that's why I think that there is a level of hiding there, but it is up to us to decide what we want to do. Are we doing it for us? If we're doing it for us, and we can do whatever we want, keep it in, or put it out. If we're doing it for the world, and I think every man owes the world a debt. I think I owe the world everything. The universe has given me everything. Why should I not give it everything that I know?
I see what you're saying. That makes perfect sense. Well, I don't like the word perfect because I don't think it exists. That made a lot of sense. Not trying to switch gears. You spoke about content and posting content. So to me, it seems like nowadays we have different categories of artists, and content creators are put in there. So you have entertainers, you have artists, and you have content creators. Do you think it's easy to distinguish the difference between those?
So a long time ago, I actually erased the line between who I am and what I do. Those two things are very much the same, because I post so much, and what I post is my life, and a lot of my life is revolving around posting and content creation. For me, that line is blurred. Even in my so-called professional life, I do coach as one of my projects, but I also engage in other more traditional modes of income generation. And even in those spheres, I'm engaging in that in the same way. I create content at work. I'm the same positive, hardworking individual at work. And I view it as artistic expression. Just to be a solid dude is a form of creative expression, because it's so rare and it's from the heart.
Very rare.
Yeah, I blur that line. I erase that line between who I am and what I do.
Okay. And to kind of give an explanation of why I asked that is because I just think that nowadays, I said, with the increase of social media, I think we're kind of losing sight of who the artists are nowadays compared to who are the entertainers these days. You know what I'm saying? And then you throw in the content creators, who, in my opinion, mean well. But sometimes I think, like you said, they do blur the line, because it's kind of like, how artistic are we? How artistic are we as content creators? If we're using somebody else's stuff, are we truly creating from the ground up? If that makes sense.
I am so much more interested in hearing from the person who is not famous and finding out what their passion is than hearing from the person with 1 million followers. I want so badly.
I love that answer.
I want so badly to know what you do at home for creation. Maybe podcasting is it, and that's the extent of it. But if I found out that you, I don't even know, painted miniatures, or I found out that you collected rare coins, or if I found out that you were into art, so I buy art. When I finally wasn't a broke lowlife. Some men collect cars, and some men collect women. That's real tough. Some men collect kicks. I know a lot of sneakerheads. It's a big part of New York culture. Rare albums. Your boy, I collect art. So as soon as I started getting a few stacks, I started buying art and buying art and buying art. And I realized that I've always been drawn to it, but I was never open enough with myself about what it would take to get the economics necessary to do that. But when I meet a guy, all men collect. I guarantee. What do you collect? I'm curious. Do you collect anything?
Yeah, I want to say that. Oh man, do I collect? I don't. No. I do. Sneakers. I collect sneakers. I'm like very huge on sneakers. It's one of the things that sometimes it could be a bad thing, because I end up buying stuff that I don't necessarily need to buy. But I would tell you this much: when I run across a pair of sneakers that look awesome and are cheap, I'm getting them. Like,
so then, yeah, that's so much more interesting to me than going to Spotify and looking at the most played, and then seeing that artist, and then Googling, where does Lil Uzi Vert live, and look at his stuff. Like, that doesn't speak to me, because I want to know what you are into. I talk about this all the time on my channel, that our Creator has blessed us all with a creative spirit, and it's our lack of willingness to engage with that, not just in the side. Like, I just found out that one of my homegirls makes quilts. She added me on her alt Instagram account with like 20 followers, and come to find out she makes these unique custom handmade quilts. To me, that is more interesting than any summer blockbuster, and that is my word, because I know that person personally. Oppenheimer has 200 M's behind it. Barbie has Mattel behind it. These are faceless corporations. I want to know what makes everyone's heart beat, what they're stoked on. That's what interests me. And that artistic thing that you're speaking of is so much more interesting when it's from someone that isn't in the public eye, doesn't have a corporate board to answer to, doesn't need to sanitize their message for the masses. Fuck all that. That doesn't mean anything. All the art that's in my apartment now, I have a print. It's an old lithograph from 1855, so it's old, of Louisiana, where I lived for a long time. And it just looks like some mundane thing, but I saw it in the antique store and I had to have it. I have a custom rug that I had my boy Cam make. It's a hand knit rug of MF Doom, my favorite recording artist. I got I have tons of stuff from Doom. He's my favorite artist all time. I have something in my kitchen, an old print from Milton Glaser celebrating the food of Catskills in upstate New York. These are things that I'm drawn to. And when I encounter someone else that is open about what they're drawn to, that's art to me. Whatever makes us tick, what makes us uniquely human, what makes us us, is not other people's art, it's what we do with it. And people trip so hard on the lives of others and what other people are doing and other people's pursuits. And I never did anything of my own until I started looking inwards. I never made art. There's a bunch of stop motion art on my channel. I never collected art, and I never expressed myself fully creatively because I was caught in my own head, because I was insanely anxious and depressed and thinking about killing myself straight up.
Yeah, and to me, I feel like you said, like being stuck in your own head. Like if you got your head on straight, that's an awesome place to be, you know. But if you are unsure, if your self-esteem is not where it should be, then it's probably the worst place to be. You know, just stuck right there. And I think
the lack of confidence will destroy me. It will destroy you. It will destroy any of us. If we aren't confident in who we are, how the fuck are we going to be confident in what we do? How are you going to walk into that meet? How are you going to walk into that meeting and say, no, I want this amount of money? You're going to walk in and say, hey, may I please have this amount of money? When you're confident, you're going to walk in and say, no, I'm going to get this or I'm out, because I know my value. I had to give myself value to become valuable. And in order to become valuable, you have to give value to others. If you're valuable to others, they perceive you as valuable. When you're valuable to, really valuable to others, then your self-worth and your net worth and all that stuff increases. And fuck the money. That's like the last thing. It's like, put that over there, but that comes too.
Yeah. It really made me think, everything you just said made me think about the post you put up about the dangers of spirituality and people not understanding the power they have within to seek something within them. Like we constantly seek it from someone else. We want someone else to pour that power into us, and we don't realize that it's already there. So we will give numerous amount of dollars to the person that's standing up there that's saying they can make us feel better. Or the craziest thing I've ever seen was a commercial for Miracle Water. It was for Miracle Water, and it was like, you drink this water and all your problems will go away. And they had some lady come up there. I was behind on my bills, and I drank the spiritual water, and now I got me a new truck and I got me a new job, and I don't have to worry about nothing. And I was sitting there thinking, dude, I'm like, who the fuck recorded this, man? Like, who recorded this commercial and said this was going to fly? But then it also concerned me, because I'm like, somewhere there is someone believing this.
Yeah, that's the dangers of spirituality is all I can do is give you the blueprint. You're going to have to build it yourself. Like, I can tell people what to eat, what not to eat, how to work out. I can tell people how to do that. but I'm not going to go there and lift the weights for you. I'm not going to weigh the food out for you.
Right.
And likewise, when you believe that your guru is going to grant you blessings, you're tripping. You are tripping. When you believe that your preacher is going to increase your money, you are tripping. Only you can do that. Right. But I support spiritual teachings of people that say, don't listen to me. If everyone that ever saw me never listened to a word I had to say and listened to everything that they had to say, that actually, your brain is not good. Everything that came from the heart that their conscience was telling them, I could die easily. Fuck John Katz. My message means nothing. But what people don't do is listen to themselves. So then I have to hit them upside their head and say, your abuse of Xanax is fucking your life up. Right. You cheating on your girlfriend is why you hate yourself and you will never attract anyone of value. Your inability to stop using your traumatic childhood as a way to not advance your adult life is fucking you. Like, I have to do that because people don't listen to themselves. If I listen to myself, my conscience, which every morning when I woke up called me to do more, put the food down, start working out, then I wouldn't have needed to hire a coach. But I needed to hire a coach because I didn't listen to myself. So fuck my message, fuck my teachings. Nobody should listen to me at all if they listen to themselves. But because they don't listen to themselves, then they need people like me to scream at them and tell them, you have one day to live. That's all you have. Tomorrow wasn't promised. Yesterday is gone. You have one day to live. But the liars and the fake spiritualists will say, ride with me, just give me this money, I'll make sure you're good. Right. I can't make sure anything. Right. I cannot make sure anything. Like, the people closest to me have only just started to change after 2.5 years. 2.5 years of me doing this, and the people closest to me have only started to change. Now, my clients have changed a lot quicker, but people that are close to you won't listen to your message because they knew you as a depressed, alcoholic, fat person for 34 years. Like, that's right. So when you speak of the preacher who says they're going to bless you with extra bread because of the money water or the holy water, it's very dangerous. That is an extremely, and I got people in cults. I have people in those same types of groups that have invested so much money and so much time in that. And that's the danger of spirituality. You have a problem in your heart and I'm going to solve it with your wallet. And that is fucked up. Now, the truth is you do have a problem in your heart, but you can solve it. I can't solve anyone's issues. I can just tell them what to do to solve their own issues. Because nobody solved my issues. Nobody solved my issues but me. Now, my coach gave me, he put me on game. He gave me the plan. He laced me up. He held me accountable. But he didn't do that. He didn't wake up at 4. He didn't wake up at 4. He didn't wake up at 4 a.m. for me this morning. He didn't wake up at 4 a.m. for 2.5 years, not missing. He didn't hit every workout. He didn't track every meal. He didn't go to his parents and say, listen, the way you behaved when I was a kid was fucked up and left me with serious issues. And I'm holding you accountable right now so we can grow. Right. Come on. Like, this is crazy.
So speaking of parenting.
Water. I gotta get some. Can I grab some real quick?
Go ahead.
I'll be right back. This is
all right. You're not tuned in to Situated Sundays, brought to you by the S.H.I.T.S podcast. Just make sure that you check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio. Subscribe. It's for free, so subscribe, leave a comment, whatever. And we are now here talking to my man John Katz of NYC Foodways. So John, you were speaking earlier about, you mentioned parents and holding parents accountable. Let me ask you this, man. What do you think is the biggest myth that the generation before us had compared to now, as far as mental health? Really mental health and just communicating.
Yeah, they didn't have the tools. They didn't have access to the information. They were limited because their advice and their know-how was derived from a pre-internet era. Okay. So the wisdom that they espoused, the teachings that they engaged in, that they spread, were very much pre-internet teachings. They weren't able to sift through the BS in order to spread the same message that you and I are able to do. So this sort of communication would have been impossible through the pre-internet era. And also their ways of being, like that wealth is to be generated in a certain very slow manner, and that it's just a very slow way of being. Our parents' generation engaged in very slow ways and also kind of broken ways. Like the conventional wisdom of their time, of how to raise kids. It just didn't work. Look at all of the fucked up people that you know.
Right.
If they were raised in different situations, now we owe it to everyone to follow in the footsteps of people that have healed their mental illness. But yeah, the preceding generation, they just didn't know any better. Folks, how about this? Like, if you knew better, you do better. It's only the psychotic. There's only the psychotic serial killer malefactor who's intentionally harming others. That's like one in I don't know how many thousands of people. Most people that are doing ill simply don't know any better, because pain expressed is downstream from pain internalized. So if I was hurt, or rather if I'm hurting you, it's because I was hurt. That's all pain is.
So it's hurt people.
There it is. And if you knew better, who's going to be like, yeah, like, oh, hell yeah, I definitely want to spend my life not showing up for people that need me. Like, yeah, that's
right.
Like, what? No man is going to say that. But a lot of men do spend their life not showing up for the people that need them to, because they don't know how to show up, because they were never shown how to show up, because their people didn't want to show up. So that's what it is. Think about how many people, I mean, divorce rate is over 50%. So people in this country are lucky if they have one parent. How on earth is one parent going to put a child into the right place mentally? Even with two parents, that's really not enough. I mean, I don't like to harken back to a golden era, but really in the pre-modern situation, before this bullshit society structure, you know, we're talking many hundreds of years ago, families were organized very differently. There were multi-generational family structures that kept the entire unit strong. So when we look at our so-called nuclear family, there's no wonder that things are so fucked up, because you only have wisdom from two people. Like back in the day, there was like that dude over there who's like missing a limb and an eye, like came back from battle like that. And if you want a game about what it means to fight, then you go to him. And there's like that really tripped out shaman type dude. And like, if you wanted game, and he's like kind of like not all there. If you wanted to understand what it means to connect with the eternal, then that's where you went. Then there's the dude who's like real nice with the anvil. And if you want to understand how to be a blacksmith or to work metal, then you go to him and you can learn practical tools. I'm very into food and gardening. I like to farm, and I worked on farms. So I would be able to pursue that. And if you wanted to understand what it meant to grow your own food and love the earth through farming, you could come and learn from me and your skills about communicating, right? You want to understand how to spread the message? Well, then go see my man right there. But now you have to like go to school, which definitely sucks because your teachers are idiots, right? So you go to learn at school from a bunch of people that if they were actually good teachers, wouldn't be teachers at all, because teachers are a pretty low-level situation. So why on earth are they low-level people interacting with kids? And then you go home and learn from people that are overworked, underpaid, super stressed out, probably unhealthy, and don't have time for you anyway. So the system is fucked. Like it used to be that these mental illnesses that we have are downstream from, are resultant from our fucked up society. And if you've seen my channel, you know that I hate on society because it's structured essentially to fuck us. Things are set up to fuck us. They want someone, like Frank Zappa said, just smart enough to do a job and just dumb enough not to ask any questions.
Wow. And you spoke earlier about, well, you were just talking about the household. And I always tell people this, I'm a firm believer in everything starts at home. Everything starts at home. You know, like to me, I feel like that's the foundation. So I feel like if you have a household that is somewhat solid and positive, no matter what bullshit you encounter when you go out into the world, you will always come home to people that will kind of put you back on straight. Now, on the flip side of that, if where you come from is fucked up and the household is just broken, there's no type of positivity there at all, which unfortunately a lot of people encounter, no matter what good you go out into the world and witness and experience, you always gonna come back home with some bullshit. You know what I'm saying? So, and then you even spoke about the teachers. I would also like to add that I think that the teachers, they're overwhelmed, in my opinion. I think the teachers are over. I mean, you do have some teachers that are really, really good and dedicated, I think, but for the most part, I mean, you have a lot of teachers that's overwhelmed because of the society that we're living in now. You know, we have people that they're afraid. They're afraid. You really can't discipline the way you used to. There's certain things that you can't say in the schools, certain things that you can't teach. So I do unfortunately agree with you that this society is set up. It seems like it's set up for motherfuckers to fail. You know what I'm saying? But also, but the plus that I see in that is with the power of like podcasting, the online coaching, you have individuals that's like, yo, hey, I'm here. You don't have to take what I say as the gospel truth, but I'm just giving you something to think about. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can go out, you can do the research on your own about what you just heard me say, but I'm just giving you something to think about. And I think people like that are important to have. That's just my personal opinion.
100%. You know, with social media and with, and this is why I post so much. This is why it is so important to be present online, because it draws people in. You know, we have so much bullshit out there with this structure that's set up to make us fail. And I, you know, there wouldn't be so many failures, and I was one of them, if our society wasn't set up to do so. But with this negative structure that we have to interact with, it's up to us to spread message of positivity and draw people in with our energy through social media. And that's why I'm so adamant and so focused on doing this type of work and engaging with people like you, because it's the only way to cut through the noise.
That's dope. So I always tell people, man, and I mean this from the heart when I say it, I truly do appreciate your time, man, because I think time was way more important than money. You can't get time back. You can get money back. Depends on the people that you have helping you, how big they are. You can get money back, but you can't get time back. So I definitely appreciate your time, man. And before we get up out of here, I want to do a little game thing, man. Give me 1 second. Give me one. I don't. Okay. All right.
Yo, what's up, everybody? This is comedian, actor, writer Ty Barnett. Now, I don't usually play games, but when I do, I play them with the shits.
All right. So this game, man, it's called 4 for 4. Not like Wendy's, so I don't want to get sued for copyright infringement. But it's called a 4 for 4. So basically, I'm gonna give you a word or a phrase, and I would like for you to respond with 4 words. Any 4 words that you think apply. Okay.
Yep.
All right. First word for your first phrase: Einsberg Sandwich Shop.
Gone but not forgotten.
Cool. This one might. I don't know kind of response I'm gonna give this one. Sophia's Choice.
The worst book ever.
The New York Knicks.
I used to love them.
That was like 5.
Wait, how about just used to love them?
You did like a common thing. Okay,
Yeah, exactly.
We'll put a hashtag right there. Religion.
Always been with us.
Cool. I like that. Accountability.
The most important thing.
Whoa, I like that. I like that. And last but not least, man, the Beastie Boys.
Rest in peace, Yauk.
Dope. Yo, John, really, man, thank you so much for your time, man. Is there anything you want to let the people know before you get up out of here where they can find you at? Any words of wisdom, any gems you want to drop on them?
Yeah, just, change is possible for everyone. All the problems that you have, I had. I had all of that. And I used to think that my situation was inescapable. Like, I would literally think that I was doomed to be in this state forever. And once I realized that I could feel better, my biggest limiting belief is that I couldn't feel better. And once I decided that I could feel better, then the world opened to me. Just understand that if you're in a dark place, that light is waiting for you, but it's up to you to choose to escape the pit. And when you choose to escape the pit, I'm here to help you. I can't do it for you, but I can show you the way. My Instagram handle is at NYC Foodways. That's NYC FOODWAYS. That's NYC Foodways. And I'm here to help. We're all in this together. Despite what society would tell you, despite what society tells us, you are not alone. I am here for you, and I'm here to help you.
Dope. Hey, man, once again, bro, I honestly and sincerely appreciate you giving me a little bit of your time today, man. It was a pleasure speaking with you, man. And hope to hear from you soon. I mean, we'll talk again, man. I need to come out to New York anyway, man. I haven't been out there in a while. So I'm always looking forward to coming out to New York, man.
Salute. I appreciate you having us on.
For sure. Have a good one, man. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Peace. Thank you.
Peace. Yeah. Yo, that was dope, y'all. That was dope. Check it out, y'all. Y'all know how we do on Situated Sundays, man. So let me get myself situated because it is about that time. Make sure that y'all can get in tune with what y'all need to get in tune with and hit y'all with this. Okay. At this point, it is time for this week's segment of I don't know who needs to hear this. I don't know who needs to hear this, but people want to work with you, not for you. Meaning, so many people say, man, ain't nobody supporting me, man, support me. And they want you to just post their stuff, come to their shows, but they don't want to do the same for you. So let me break it down to you. That's not working with you. That's working for you. Working with you means I'm coming to your events, you coming to my events, I'm posting your stuff, you're posting my stuff, you're supporting me the same way I'm supporting you. That's working with someone. Please don't get it confused, because there's a lot of y'all out there that want people to work for you, not with you. So with that being said, just because you're not listening does not mean it's not being said. So be in tune, hold yourself accountable, and that's how we do. And on that note, you know it's about that time. Y'all hear, I gotta get better with my sound, y'all. I like this though. And it's just trying to find my okay. Somebody done messed around and got me started. Y'all thought I wasn't gonna get it, but I got it. All right, y'all. It's about that time for me to get up out of here, man. So I got to get some shouts out to. First of all, I'll get some shouts out to my man John Katz from NYC Foodways. Y'all make sure y'all check him out. Thank you so much, man, for giving us your time and dropping those gems on us, man, telling us your story. Shout out to my girl Dee Delicious. She couldn't be here today. She got some stuff to do, so we couldn't get Dee Dee's don'ts. But like I always say, and like she always say, don't play with that girl. Don't play with her. Shout out to my man Decker Durr. Shout out to my man Mark G. Shout out to the family. Joey, Bryce, Jalen, Crystal, Smoke, Diggy, Dog. Shout out to my brother, Ty Barnett. Shout out to my mom. Hey, Mom, I love you very, very much. Shout out to the family, man. Shout out to everybody that checked out Situated Sundays. Hey, y'all make sure y'all get in tune with Come Creative. You know what I'm saying? They got the toys that y'all need to get y'all situated and get y'all right. Also, shout out to anybody that's being creative. Shout out to anybody that's being supportive of others. Shout out to anybody out there that's being passionate to others. And also, shout out to anybody that's being honest with themselves. Shout out to anybody that's being patient. Shout out to everybody that's working hard. And I want to leave y'all with this. Make fans, not followers. Followers will get you clout. Fans will get you work. Trust the process. Do something to get you out the bed in the morning. Be patient. Be positive. Be passionate. And realize this, y'all. Don't give up on your dreams. Because the only thing that happens overnight is dreaming and slobbing. And like my girl Dee Delicious say, them babies All right, y'all. I'm gonna holler at y'all next week, man. And yeah. It is the S.H.I.T.S podcast. Y'all can find us on Apple Podcasts. You can find us on Spotify. You can find us on iHeartRadio. Anywhere you get your podcast at, you can find us. So make sure y'all check us out, subscribe, comment. All that is for the free. You know what I'm saying? It's for the free. So I'm out of here. It's the S.H.I.T.S.